Season 4, where we invite the most prominent HR leadership voices to share their insights and experiences on and around the current HR ecosystem. Joining us today is Arpita Pamnani, VP HR at Axis Bank. A quick introduction about Arpita before we start. She is currently heading the campus and academia recruitment team at Axis Bank. In the 13 years of her career, she has worked with a lot of companies like Tata Power and DCB Bank. She has been recognized as a LinkedIn Power Profile and more recently as one of the top 10 HR influencers in India by SHRM. With this, a very warm welcome, Arpita.
Thank you so much, Manan, for the generous introduction. And I'm really glad that I'm doing this.
So I'm sure we are all looking forward to a very interesting discussion today. Now, to set the context for this conversation, my first question to you is, can you share some of the most prominent challenges that you face in the TA space and what are your strategies to overcome them?
Yeah, the question is pretty short, but Manan, I can probably take a full day to talk about this because there are so many facets to it. But I'll start off with, how the environment has changed and how that affects, what we do. The age-old problems like attrition, being able to attract better talent, being able to bring in diversity, and being able to retain the talent, those challenges are still there and they are not going anywhere else. They are always there to stay. But having said that, there was this period of COVID which was there, which kind of brought in a lot of uncertainty, and there were certain things that we were trying to predict and see how things are going to go. But right after COVID also came an economic boom. If you see the job market today, especially since the last year is where we spoke about Great Resignation. Has it kind of died down? No, it has tapered down a little, but it's still there. There are a lot of opportunities that have opened up. There is a lot of, what should I say, a lot of positive sentiment that's there, and along with that, the generation that was coming in, which is the millennial, has all of a sudden changed to the Gen Z. So that's also a big change that has happened. With that change, a lot of us have got baffled because we are millennials. So we worked in a certain way. We knew how the workforce was working. We were the cool people, till about 2-3 years back, because our leaders would keep on kind of looking at us to find out answers. And then all of a sudden, bam, there is a different generation. Their ask is different. Everything is different. But having said that, I think, every generation keeps saying, and I keep, talking about this in the forums, that they are so irresponsible. They are so this, they are so that. But that's absolutely not true. We look at millennial right now and think that they're very responsible, but they have already grown in the industry. They have already, most of the millennials are in their 30s right now. So, they have kind of evolved. If you look at them now and then look at Gen Z and say, oh, they are responsible, probably we were not at all that responsible when we started off. So you have to give credit to the generation that's coming in. There are a lot of, like, mentioned before, there are a lot of positives to them. They are a lot more informed. They are a lot more sorted in life in that sense, with the things that they want to do. And of course, if an organization does not evolve, the organization will not survive. So we have to understand the traits. To engage somebody, it is one thing to, have somebody, with a bond and make that person stay in the organization for a couple of years. And it's a totally different thing to be able to engage that person enough that the person, even if the person doesn't stay for 2 years, the person contributes a lot more. So yeah, the focus has changed a little, but the focus is still to understand the current generation that's coming in and to work and create an environment where they can sustain, we can add value to them, and they can, they can also end up adding value to us.
That was beautifully described, Arpita. And now that we have talked about a multi-generational workforce, Can you shed some light on your employer branding strategy and how it has evolved over the past few years, especially when we consider that we are now working with a multi-generational workforce?
Yes, yes. I think things have changed, but then things are also kind of especially India as a country is diverse in everything that you can speak about. What happens in cities like Mumbai, Calcutta, Delhi is not something that's still happening in a lot of smaller towns. And then you obviously have villages. So with all of that in mind, but with the influx of internet that comes in and the information that that is around, there are different levels at which different sets of people are working. So one thing is cutting across generation, the other thing is cutting across different sets of people who are at different financial position, and then in different sort of locations, which also builds a lot around the culture of the places. um, Good thing is, because of the digital boom, the accessibility of information has become a lot easier than before. Today, if you go to one of the most rural villages, there also people know how to operate a TikTok. So if you really see that change where I don't have to necessarily reach out there physically to be able to reach out to that mass, has drastically changed. So yeah, a lot of digital marketing works, a lot of word of mouth works. Being in a bank which is of the size and magnanimity that I am in, I already have branches in most of those locations, which if I tell you the name, you'll have to keep on googling the name to find out where it is. So but then we have access to the all that location. So word of mouth is something that works, but along with that, for building credibility, a lot of digital work also matters. So I would say a combination of those, and because in digital you have the capability of deciding which TG you want to go for, which location you want to go for, like kind of doing that whole cutting across to reach people, that really helps.
Okay, so since this conversation is so engaging and interesting, I wouldn't want to disrupt, the flow of this conversation. So I'll quickly move on to my next question. So Arpita, according to you and your industry demands, what type of skill shortages do you think are causing the talent war?
Uh, I think skill shortage, like you said, I think that's probably the key word. We have the advantage. India as a country has the advantage of age. There is no doubt about it. Today, if China is suffering and they are falling out, the problem with it is with a growing older population, right? And a very less of a younger population. That problem is solved by a lot of countries, because a lot of countries are immigrant friendly, and that's how they kind of keep on bringing in the younger population. But India already has that advantage, and we are going to remain a young country for a very long period, and that's why we have to utilize that part. Again, coming back to the skill part, which I said is a problem. When it comes to applications for the jobs that we would generally give out, the number of applications is huge. But once we do an assessment, once we try to kind of come down to a smaller number of people who have a basic skill set, that number really becomes very low. So the proportion is very low, which is something that's of concern. How we have tried to solve it is by doing these collaboration with a lot of institute, which does these certification programs, which are tailor-made according to Axis Bank's requirement. And then basically these guys get skilled according to our requirement, and that's how we will take them in. So that helps. But having said that, are we being able to cater to the mass yet? Probably not. There is a lot of basic level of skill set that at least needs to be there, in terms of aptitude, in terms of communication in terms of a lot of those basic things that really needs to our education, the way the education is the education system is working, for us to be able to really utilize the workforce that is coming up, and especially when I say education, we are still into kind of mugging up information and then producing it on the during the papers, and not into application. And how application helps is, if I know how to find out an answer, especially with Google and things like that, you don't need to mug up anything. You should be able to utilize all the systems that are there available to you to be able to find out answers. So I think that's where there is a huge gap still, and especially with internet providers like Geo, which is providing internet at such a low cost, for the mass to gain this kind of knowledge should not be very difficult. So yeah, that access is still kind of missing. So you have 100 people, but you might, and people might think that, oh, there are 100 people, so you can employ all of them, but employable or employment worthy number might actually taper down to about 5 to 8 out of that 100. So that's a concern.
Okay, so before I move on to my next question, Arpita, I would like to tell you something. So I recently came across a research paper that quoted soft skills as the new power skills of the millennium. So my next question to you is, how do you see the importance of soft skills evolving in the future?
Especially belonging to a service industry, it's extremely important. So I keep on telling all the resources who I hire to, that when it comes to soft skills, when how you present yourself matters a lot. And so by soft skills, I don't mean you have to be extremely good in English. Your soft skills might include very good communication. Communication means you understand what the person in front of you is trying to say. End of the day, you're trying to sell an idea or a product or something like that. You should be able to maneuver and do that. So that's very important. But having said that, because English has been a standard language with us, is it important to know how to read, write, at least basic level of English? Yes, that's very, very important. The other part is your grooming, and why it is important. You'll say that, oh, as a person, I'm this, and why do you want me to have grooming? Why can't I be just the way I am? And you should be able to see the person inside and be happy with whatever I'm trying to sell to you. Grooming is more about the fact that when I look at you, Manan, if I see, and especially in an industry where you're in transacting in other people's money, if I see that you have taken care of yourself, I will have the comfort that you are going to take care of my problems or my money too. If I see that you're not responsible, or you're not really up to the mark there, I will obviously not have confidence on you. So when it comes to grooming, people might say it's superficial, but I think in career too, it really takes you to a much greater height if you look a certain way. And by looking a certain way doesn't mean you have to you have to change your complexion or buy branded clothes or anything like that. Just a crisp iron shirt, and an iron in India is not very costly. A well-buttoned shirt or a well-groomed hair and face, and a well-polished shoe makes a lot of difference, because that's the first impression you're creating. And then comes your body language, which is also extremely important. How you present yourself with a smile, how you greet the person, all those things in our subconscious, we are taking all that information in. And based on that information, believe me, even if an organization doesn't have the best of the products, if the person who's going and meeting the customer presents it in a certain way where the person in front gains that trust, that helps a lot more. So yeah, soft skills, body language, communication skill, your grooming level, your etiquette really matters.
So that was very neatly described, and I'm sure our audiences will resonate with your thoughts. Thank you for sharing such wonderful insights, Arpita. It was an absolute delight to have you here with us. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks, Manan. Pleasure.
To our viewers, thanks for tuning in. We will be back soon with another engaging episode of the We Talk Talent series. Till then, keep watching and keep talking.